Hello everybody, it's me again, and I'm about to take a paranormal tour of the Queen Mary. I will go ahead and hopefully I can take some pictures along the way and let you know if I find out anything, if something touches me, or if I ever come back at all. Alright, we'll have a great time and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
On that list. We get guests from all over the globe on board the Queen Mary, interested in the paranormal activity that's been reported on board. We get asked a lot of questions. One of those questions is, why? Why is the Queen Mary haunted? The simplest answer is we don't know. There are a number of reasons why this ship could be haunted. This is one reason right here. The crew, the passengers who passed away on board the ship. That could explain some of the hauntings, but not all of them. Parapsychologists have claimed that we have a vortex on board this ship, gateway between our world and the next. One of our psychic investigators, our former psychic investigators, the late Peter James, said that because of this vortex, we have approximately 600 ghosts on board this ship. It's another possibility, the vortex. Many people believe that once we pass on, our energy will seek out areas where we had fond memories. The Queen Mary was the party ship of her time. A lot of good memories made on board. It could be that some of those energies are now revisiting the ship here in Long Beach. Some of the strongest hauntings stem from sudden, horrible, violent, untimely deaths. Some of those happened on board the ship or around the ship, where the ship was involved in a number of them. But as I said, the simplest answer is we don't know. The title of this tour is The Paranormal Shipwalk. The word paranormal is defined as something that cannot be scientifically explained. So how are we expected to explain something that cannot really be explained? Yeah.
By experiencing
By
it.
experiencing it, yes. And there have been experiences on these tours. I will not lie to you. People have experienced things. I've had total skeptics on tours. They were no longer skeptics at the end of the tour. Now, I'm not saying that happens on every tour. It does happen once in a while. It's rare, but it does happen. But to tell you the truth, most of my experiences on board this ship have occurred when I was doing this tour. That's another question I'm frequently asked. Have I ever seen a ghost on board the ship? Not only have I seen things on board this ship, but I have heard things. I have felt things on board the Queen Mary I have no explanation for. There is always the follow-up question, that's what did you see? Well, don't worry, I'll share with you quite a few of my own experiences tonight. Now, I have had a lot of guests ask if I'm a ghost. I am not. I am real. I like to joke that I'm only dead on the inside. And I do want to point out that I don't claim in any way to be a psychic or a medium. I am an extra large, but not a medium. But when you work on board the Queen Mary as long as I have, I've been here a little over 11 years now, you get a feeling for the ship. You can walk through the Queen Mary. And sometimes you walk through a room like this and you don't feel anything. You feel like you're just walking through a normal room. But sometimes
You can feel
you walk through, you can feel a pressure. You can feel a difference in the room. You can sense something. So I am what I refer to be slightly sensitive. But one of the things I will point out is that if I'm sensing something on the tour, I won't say anything. The reason I do that is because I don't want what I may be experiencing to influence you in any way. I don't want it to seem as though I'm leading you to feel something that may or may not be there. So if you feel something, I want it to be genuine. I don't want it to be as though I am leading you to feel as though something is happening. If I see something, I may stop talking and I may look in a particular direction, but I probably won't say, oh my gosh, there's a ghost over there. That's not who I am. And one of the times that I actually thought I saw something, I stopped talking and I looked to where I thought I saw something, and a woman on the tour said, "Oh my gosh, you saw it too." So I want you to experience something. I've had enough experiences on board the Queen Mary. Most of them good experiences. Only one negative experience. We might talk about that later. But it is truly my hope that each and every one of you will experience something on this tour. Unfortunately, I cannot guarantee that. Aft alley is where the propeller shafts are located. What brings us down to this particular area, this little beauty right here, one of our watertight door hatches. This is door hatch number 13. In total, there were 39 hydraulically controlled watertight door hatches on board the ship. Their main purpose was to create compartments throughout the lower deck areas on board the Queen Mary. In the event of a hull breach and the ship were to start taking on water, they would activate these doors. 700 pounds of hydraulic pressure per square inch would slide them closed in about 30 seconds, creating compartments, hopefully isolating the hull breach and preventing the ship from sinking. I know what a lot of you are thinking, but did Titanic have watertight door hatches? They did. Unfortunately, they did not have watertight bulkheads. Their bulkheads only went up as far as the water line, which allowed the water to spill over into aft compartments, thus sinking the ship. Luckily, on board the Queen Mary, we had watertight bulkheads as well as overheads. Bulkhead is a wall, overhead ceiling, deck is floor. We use a lot of ship terminology around here. It can be confusing. But watertight door hatch number 13 was July 10th, 1966, about 3:50 in the morning. The Queen Mary was entering a very dense fog. Whenever visibility was low on board the ship, they were required by law to seal their watertight door hatches. 3:50 in the morning, the captain issues the order. The order is carried out. About 10 minutes after activating the door hatches, they took a look at the control panel up on the bridge. All of the indicator lights had lit up except for one. That was the one for door hatch number 13. Once all the door hatches had sealed, there would be a light that came up on the control panel indicating that it had sealed. Now, could have been a number of reasons why door hatch 13 hadn't sealed. It could have been that somebody had left some equipment in the way, preventing the door from closing. Could have been that the hydraulic pipes had burst to this door, lost hydraulic fluid. Could have been that the light bulb was out on the control panel up in the bridge. But they called down here to the engine room. They told them to go check it out, see what the problem was. Got a call back a few minutes later, telling them to release the hydraulics, told them there had been an accident, let the ship's doctor know that there was a patient on his way up. See, when they came down here to investigate what was preventing the door from closing, they discovered the body of an 18-year-old fireman caught in the door hatch. The young man was found in a standing position with his arms pinned at his side. When they found him, he was unconscious, but still alive. They released the hydraulics. He was rushed up to the isolation ward. The doctor arrived shortly thereafter, injected him with morphine to ease any pain that he was in. But the young man did pass away at approximately 4:25 in the morning, about 35 minutes after the door hatches had been activated. There's a couple of mysteries surrounding this death. The first mystery is that no one is certain why a crew member from one of our boiler rooms was found here in the aft engine room. To get to the nearest boiler room from here, you would not only have to go through the engine room we'll be walking through in a moment, but you'd have to go through an identical engine room just ahead of that before you would reach the nearest boiler room. Now, there are rumors that the men who worked in the boiler rooms, in the interest of escaping the temperatures of 150 degrees in there, they would sneak back here into the engine room where it was significantly cooler, and let their body temperature revert back to normal. take a break. So it could be that John was back here, taking a break. When he heard the alarm sound indicating the door hatches were closing, he knew that he was supposed to be in his workstation in the event of an emergency. He started running back to toward the boiler rooms. And there was a wrench found on the deck nearby. It's on this side of the door here. It could be that on his way rushing back to the boiler rooms, he dropped his wrench. Now, as an engineer on board the ship, you were required to provide your own tools. The company did not provide them. So if you left a wrench behind, that was the last you'd see it. If you didn't have the tools to do your job, guess what? You didn't get paid. So the wrench on the deck, it seems that he might have come back to retrieve it, bent down to pick it up, and came back up just as the door was closing in on him. He dropped the wrench back down to the deck. Now the truth is that we will probably never know the truth behind this accident. That was a year before the Queen Mary would embark on her last great cruise here to Long Beach. Throughout that time, there were a couple of reported sightings of him down here. There were crew members on board the Queen Mary. These men knew him, had worked with him. And some of them said that they'd seen him after he had passed away. Here in Long Beach, every once in a while we do get hotel guests sneaking down here after hours, once the lights have been turned out, doing their own little investigation. I know what you're thinking. Don't you have locks everywhere? The truth is, there's a will, there's a way to get anywhere on board this ship. You just have to find it. Well, they come down here, they investigate the area, taking a look around. They've said that they've seen someone on these catwalks. These catwalks go throughout the entire engine room. The person that they tend to report is the ghost of an engineer, described as wearing dark coveralls, a white cap, sporting a beard. That does fit John's description. There have been a few occasions we have shown these people photographs of some of the men who worked on board the ship with John's picture mixed into it. That's the one that they usually pick out. There have been occasions we've been down here, we've heard disembodied voices. There's one night that somebody captured an EVP, an electronic voice phenomenon, on a digital recorder. The voice clearly said, "Where's my wrench?" There have been occasions guests have passed through this door hatch. They said that they felt something touch them. I've also had guests tell me that as they're walking this way through the engine room, approaching the door hatch, they've heard someone running up the catwalk. When they turn around, the sound stops and there's nobody there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I don't claim to be a medium, but on these tours, management does want us to call out, see if we can get any interaction with John. So I'm going to do that now. It may, for those of you who have never done this kind of thing, never experienced it, it can be a little comical at first, watching a grown man calling out to someone who's not there, or could be there and you just can't see him. Just give me a moment. John? John, you there? It's me, Daniel. Now, it's been a while since I've been down here to see you. I have a group here who'd really like to hear from you. If there's any way you can make a sound to let us know you're here with us. John? You giving me the cold shoulder because I haven't been down here for a while?
Knock on something.
You give us a sound, a knock. Let us know you're here. the only one who heard that right above us, was I? Was that you, John?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, John, for letting us know you're here. We do appreciate it. I was lucky enough to see John one night. I was doing the tour, but we came in.
Cool.
You're gonna make a noise every time you hear your name. I was lucky enough to see him one night. Briefly. I brought the group in through this way, so I was standing back by the escalator, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone standing on the escalator, about a third of the way up. And that was one of those moments where I stopped and turned to look. And that's when the woman across from me said, "Oh my gosh, you saw him too." Now when I turned to look, I just saw a white blur go through the wall there. But she described a young man in coveralls with a white cap and a beard. And when I turned to look his way, he went through the wall. It was very comforting to know that I was not the only one to see him, because that meant that I was not as crazy as I thought I was. Thank you, John, for letting us know you're here. We're going to move on now. Good evening, sir. Queen Mary's most haunted hotel room. It's also probably the worst example of what a hotel room looks like on board the ship. This room was featured on the episode of Ghost Hunters filmed on board the ship. Now, unfortunately, they did have to throw out their evidence from this room because somebody was able to break into the room and tamper with their equipment. Now, who that was, we don't know. But basically, they doctored their video footage to make it look as though the bed that was set up inside this room had unmade itself. Now,
Did you see that?
why is this the most haunted room on board the Queen Mary? Once again, that's another question that we simply cannot answer. We've done our research. We found a few interesting things about the room. When the Queen Mary first opened as a hotel in 1971, we noticed that of all the rooms on board the ship, we got the most complaints about this one.
See? You saw it? See?
We had lights going on and off inside this room by themselves. We had guests telling us the faucet in the sink in the bathroom would turn on by itself. Guests would report the TV would change channel, adjust volume, go on and off, and that someone would knock on the door in the middle of the night. But when they would answer the door, there was nobody there. And with these reports, we did what any normal hotel would do. We had our electrician inspect the lighting, the wiring. The plumber checked out the faucet. We replaced the TV inside this room, and we posted a security officer in the corridor near the room overnight. But we still received reports of this activity. We had a few guests tell us that as they were lying in bed, they would feel something pulling the blankets down. Guests would wake up in the middle of the night to a chill, find the blankets all the way down at the foot of the bed. Some guests even reported finding the blankets on the opposite side of the room. We had one guest turn up at the hotel front desk in the middle of the night. She stated that she was staying alone in this room. She woke up when she thought she felt somebody climb into bed next to her.
See, look.
The side of the bed next to her was empty.
Look.
She thought that she might have been dreaming. And that's when she heard a man's voice say, "I'm cold."
Whoa, whoa.
But not only did she show up at the hotel front desk in the middle of the night to tell them about this, but she brought all of her luggage with her and she checked out.
Yeah, I know, but do you see?
That's when management really took a notice of this room. We started investigating it, looking back through the ship's logs to see if there was any report of odd activity inside this room when the ship was in service. We found no mention of B340, but we did find a couple of interesting entries for B226. One of those entry stated that in 1958, a Mrs. W.T. Berry was sailing alone in the room. She woke up in the middle of the night. She felt something pulling at the blankets. She looked down at the foot of her bed to see what was causing this. She claimed that she saw a man there. She screamed. The night steward heard her scream, came rushing to her room, searched it, but could not find anyone in the room other than Mrs. Berry. In the report, the steward also stated that he was in the corridor near her room at the time he heard her scream. But during that disturbance, he did not see anyone enter or exit the corridor at all. The other entry we discovered for that room was from 1948, simply stating Walter J. Adamson, third-class passenger, British subject, found dead in stateroom B226. Cause of death listed unknown. They never did discover the cause of his death. At this point, you may be curious why we're standing in B340 and your tour guide is rambling on about B226. B340 is not the original room number. The room we're standing in was not one room, it was two. Two separate third-class cabins. They broke down a wall in between two rooms to create a larger hotel room here in Long Beach. The bathroom over on this side of the room was added as third-class accommodations did not have private bathrooms connected to the cabins. The room was enlarged, given the new number B340, when the original room numbers were B228 and B226, which means you're probably wondering which half of this room that was. Was it this half? Or was it that half over there? Yeah, it was that half of the room over there. Now, for those of you standing over on this side of the room, feeling all comfortable that you're standing on the side of the room where somebody didn't die, I do want to point out we all walked in on that side. We stopped using the room back in 1983 as part of a hotel, that is. One of our hotel mates had an experience in here. She had just finished making the bed, stepped out into the corridor to get towels from her cart for the bathroom. She came back into the room. The bed was completely unmade. Everything had been stripped off of the bed, piled in the middle of the floor. When she saw this, she said that the lights started to flicker on and off. Then she heard a voice yell, "Get out." So she did. She dropped her bundle of towels, she closed the door to the room, she rushed back to our human resources department and quit. When we started losing employees because of this room, that's when management said no more. So we removed the furniture, took up the carpeting, ripped down the wallpaper. We left the room in a state of disrepair for a number of years. They did fix it up briefly back in 1988 when they tried using it as our payroll office. As you can imagine, there were a lot of discrepancies in the payroll department during that time. A lot of shortages reported on paychecks. No overages, though. After a number of problems that consisted of computers malfunctioning frequently and a number of shortages on paychecks, management eventually gave in and relocated payroll to a different part of the ship.
Oh, there it is, there it is.
It was only the payroll department for 3 months. And since then, this room has only been used for our ghost tours.
Ooh.
We'll go ahead and make our way back out into the corridor, move on to our next stop, referred to as the pointy part of the ship. This area is weird.
Say the least.
And we think the reason why we have had so much activity reported in this area over the years because it has a link to an accident that killed 338 men. On October 2nd of 1942, the Queen Mary, serving as a troop ship, was off the coast of Northern Ireland. One of her escort cruisers, the HMS Curacoa, cut across her path. The Queen Mary struck the midsection of the HMS Curacoa and cut the smaller vessel in half. In 1 minute, both halves of the Curaçao were engulfed in flames and within 5 minutes sank beneath the Atlantic. 338 of the 439 crew members on board did not survive the collision. The 101 survivors, they were not rescued by the Queen Mary. Instead, they were rescued by other escort cruisers in the area at the time. The ship, with over 10,000 soldiers on board, was under orders not to stop, otherwise she would have been a sitting target. The ship did suffer severe structural damage. When she struck the Curaçao, her bow caved in 11 feet. The damage extending from this deck down 3.5 decks below us. The hull was breached. She did start taking on water, but luckily by that point, the watertight door hatches had already been sealed. When they realized what was about to happen, they took that precaution immediately. So the hull breach was isolated to just the forward areas on board the ship. The cargo areas directly below us, they were flooded. The ship made it into Scotland. Once there, they unloaded the ship, started pumping the water out of the lower cargo holds. They went down into the lower deck areas to assess the damage and discovered some of the bodies of the crewmen from the Curaçao inside our cargo holds. I've actually had guests tell me that when they've looked down there, they've seen sailors. We've heard men calling up from the lower decks, asking for help. A loud crash has been heard coming from the very bow of the ship. That is believed to be a residual energy dating back to that accident. Now, many of you may be familiar with that terminology, residual energy. A residual energy is not so much of a haunting as it is a stored energy. Very much like an audio tape or a VHS tape. These metallic bands store recording. Many of the things found in construction have these abilities to retain this residual energy. It becomes absorbed by the surroundings. Steel, an excellent conductor of energy. We believe this could explain why we have so many of these residual energies or residual hauntings on board the ship. These are not your classic hauntings. These are hauntings that seem to occur over and over and over the same way every time. It is more of a recording than it is a haunting. Now, we do have intelligent hauntings on board, or classic hauntings. These are ghosts or spirits that can interact with their surroundings. John is an excellent example of an intelligent haunting. Jackie as well. She seems to be able to interact with her surroundings. We do have one ghost we call Henry. Usually he makes his presence known down in boiler room number 3. It was about a year ago on one of my tours, he made his presence known here. A young man standing at the back of our group felt something scratch him on the back of his neck. That's one of the things that John does. John has also been known to push people, trip them, pull hair, usually scratch. Now, the young man stepped underneath the light. We did see 3 red scratch marks going across the back of his neck. Now, why would John suddenly show up here when he's usually down in the boiler rooms? Well, at the time, they were doing a lot of work down in our boiler rooms, making a lot of noise, and John is very solitary, does not like intruders, and definitely does not like loud noises. So we think that he might have been scoping out other areas on board the ship to hang out for a while they were down there in the boiler rooms. But the good news for us was that that was the only time anyone had ever felt being scratched in here, so we should be fine. Now, sometimes people get a feeling in here. I don't know if anyone's felt it. A lot of people get the feeling that the ship is moving, rocking back and forth sometimes. That seems to do with the electromagnetism in this area. A lot of parapsychologists believe that ghosts are electromagnetic beings, beings of energy. And our electrosystem, our nervous system runs on electric impulses. And we actually do give off a small amount of electromagnetism. And what parapsychologists have explained to us about this area is that it's something known as harmonics. Our electromagnetism is bouncing off the electromagnetism found in this area, bouncing back to us, and we can sense that, and that causes a slight disturbance with our balance, our equilibrium. So, whether that electromagnetism has to do with the electric system here in the Queen Mary or just the electromagnetism of these residual energies stored within the hull of the ship, we're not entirely sure. So that is something that could have a completely logical explanation. It is something that could also have a link to paranormal activity. So if you happen to be feeling that slight rocking back and forth as though the ship were rocking back and forth, it is not the ship. I do want to point that out. There's a rope hanging down right here. You can see that it is perfectly stationary. And there are these hooks hanging up here. They're hanging freely. There's a wire hanging down. If the ship were rocking back and forth, we would see movement in these things, ropes. Yeah, it is.
Hello, I just got off of the paranormal tour here on the Queen Mary, and it was kind of what I expected. I heard a little bit of knocking, some whistling, a door slamming shut, but that was mainly it. There was maybe some orbs. Somebody saw some freaky thing on her camera, but it was okay. Like I said, it was kind of what I expected. Maybe take it again sometime to see if there's anything's changed. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the videos that I put on YouTube here, and come back soon and let's take another adventure, okay? Have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.